PowerPoint um, for Nursing 511. I am here to present a PowerPoint on Florence Nightingale. I wanted to first preface it by saying or giving you an understanding of the reasons why I chose Florence Nightingale. The reason why was because when I first started nursing school, um, 23 years ago, which is when I started, um, I completely didn't understand the whole phenomenon behind Florence Nightingale. I knew that she was, the history behind nursing, that she was historical in some way, form, or fashion, but I really didn't understand why do we keep having to learn about it. I really had no clue about this. And so as when I started the class, I figured, well, maybe I should just find out about the theory, the foundational person who developed theory, the person who started it out, in order to understand the reason why her name keeps coming up. So I entitled my PowerPoint Florence Nightingale, the Lady with the Lamp. Again, I'm in Nursing 511, Theoretical Foundations, a multidisciplinary approach at ECPI. So my objectives today is to go into her background, her history, the components of her nursing theory, relational statements, whether it was inductive or deductive, and the impact on nursing research and practice. Now, a little bit about her background is that she was born May 12th, 1820. She was born to a very wealthy family. At that time, women were not publicly educated. They were if they were educated at all, they had to be privately educated. So she was privately educated by her father. Very early on, in her life, she felt that it was her calling to be a nurse. She felt that it was her calling by God to take care of the sick and the injured. So this is what she wanted to do. However, her mother was highly opposed to this. Her mother and her sister actually were highly opposed to this, and she wanted her to be a socialite. And the reason why she was probably highly opposed to her being anything other than a socialite, but just to top that off, the nurses were, and that at that time considered low class and promiscuous. And so she kind of did what she wanted to do. She took that opposition and was like, well, this is what I want to do, and this is what I'm going to do. I feel like it's a calling from God. And so she went on to the nursing program in Kaiserswerth, Germany, from 1850 to 1851. At that time, it was the only official nursing school. She became the nursing superintendent very shortly after that at the Institution for the Care of the Sick and Gentlewomen in Circumstances. While she was there at this as a superintendent, she never got paid for this job, which is kind of crazy to me. But however, she never got paid for it. And I guess with her wealthy background, that she was able to do that, and because of the fact that nurses weren't considered to be much in the eye of the society at that time, she felt it was God's calling on her life, and she took the job with no pay. And in this job, she implemented many changes that improved care. Now, she earlier in her life as a young woman, she formed an alliance with Sidney Herbert. Sidney Herbert was the Secretary of War for Great Britain, but they had been friends prior to also. And so because he was the Secretary of War of Great Britain during the time of the Crimean War, her and Sidney kind of got together, and Sidney Herbert contacted her, and she at the same time was contacting him because of the treatment of the soldiers, or the dire situation of the soldiers at that time. Almost half, 48% of the soldiers were dying. They were dying from their injuries. And so they needed some help. The nuns, there were nuns that came in for the opposing side to take care of their soldiers. And so Herbert knew that he needed to get somebody in there to take care of his soldiers. And so he employed Nightingale and 38 other nurses. They were sent to Turkey to the Scutavi army barracks. There they found that there were dreadful conditions in the war. There was opposition from the physicians. Of course, I guess the physicians felt that they were beneath, the nurses were beneath them. But, the one thing that Nightingale really, really felt was important, she felt that that nurses were women, and she felt that they were autonomous. And she believed that they should work alongside the physician, but not be subservient to the physicians. And I guess the physicians didn't like that. But, Miss Nightingale, she had dealt with opposition in her previous life when she was at home with her mother and her sister. So I guess she was okay with this opposition. So while she was there, she noted the source of the soldiers' deaths. And this is, a short list, inclusive, but not, including everything, is the transport to the hospital, the state of the hospital, open sewers, and the deficiency in cleanliness, pure water, fresh air, and wholesome food. And, it's kind of funny how that is something that is so basic to us today that she had to fight to be able to implement at that time. She introduced a new system that cut casualties from 48% to 2%. That is phenomenal statistics. It is something that, just like, wow, oh my God. She implemented this system that it did this. And she was also called the lady with the lamp. And, I didn't understand exactly the significance of the lady with the lamp until I read that, apparently the nurses at that time were considered promiscuous. And so a lot of times they would nurse their soldiers back to health, and then they would sleep with them. And so she was not only, she went around with this lamp at night, not only just to check on the soldiers, but also to check on whether people were being promiscuous or not. Her theory was inductive. It had an inductive development. What she did was she observed the poor conditions of the war, okay? And then she noticed a pattern. And then she formed a hypothesis as to the reasons why the soldiers had a high mortality rate, such as poor air, dirty water, inefficient drainage, uncleanliness, poor lighting. She identified all these reasons. She collected data, and then she formed a theory as to how to make things better. The components of her nursing theory is what it is and what it is not. First part of it is healing. She felt that you should she felt that you should, at the core of things, be healed as a soldier. She also felt that secondary to healing was leadership and global action. And in the days of today of healthcare reform, it's just it is almost basic. We're learning more about outcomes and about how to have better outcomes. I mean, she was the leader in this. She was the leader. She was the one who realized that we need leadership and we need global action in order to get these people back to healing. That's the deepest level of it. And she just automatically did what she needed to do in order to make sure that the leadership and global action was there. She implemented strict record keeping, which is our charting today, similar to statistical reporting. We statistically report these days also. But she's the one that started it. She's the one that pioneered that. And I think that is so innovative of her to be able to do that. She also developed the polar area diagram. And the diagram, kind of showed areas in the war where you had wounds and battles, where the death was coming from the wounds and battles, the death was coming from other causes, that the death was coming from the diseases. She also, once she came back from the war, she went back to England. She transferred in the army schools. And she highly regarded Lambert Quetelet, who kind of integrated human behavior and statistics. And so she highly regarded him, and she studied him, and she took a grasp of his concept in order to be able to pull it into the nursing world. She initiated a record keeping program for the government health statistics. And she is most memorably noted for the Nightingale School for Nursing at St. Thomas. Now, her relational statements is healthy environment is essential to healing. You know, healthy environment to healing. Yeah, that is just, it's something that's so basic, but that she had to fight to implement, and that she was intuitive enough to know that. To put a constitution in the state is that it is well, have no disease, or that it can recover from disease. You know, and she understood that concept. Pathology teaches the harm that disease has done, nothing more. We know nothing of the principle of health, nothing but observation and experience will teach us the ways to maintain or to bring back the state of health. And so she understood that we needed to observe. We also needed to have experience in order to teach us the ways in which to bring those back to health. And to nurse is a field in which one may say there is no end to what we may be learning every day. You know, learning is an everyday process. Learning about the body and learning about disease processes and things of that nature. It is an everyday process. And she was so intuitive that she just understood that concept. And the impact that she had on nursing research was that she started just the statistical benchmarking on hospital performance. I mean, she was the one who began this. You know, she's the one who started and said, you know, I am going to find out, you know, statistically how this pans out. She was a numbers person, apparently. She improved clinical care by analyzing the statistics, you know, understanding the root of the issue, understanding the root cause of the issue, basically. She started with the root cause of the issue, and then she went from there in order to form a theory as to the reasons why things were happening the way that they were happening. Barrack and hospital design, you know, she changed the design, you know, that bed may not have needed to be over here. You know, you needed to have open windows in order, you know, for these microorganisms not to grow. She focused not only on the patient, but she also focused on the environment in order to be able to change the way that nursing was. And she was pretty phenomenal. And that's the reason why, you know, she was the person who did all the groundwork in order for us to become a nursing as a profession. Whereas way back when, our nurses were considered to be low class and promiscuous, and today we're the number one most well respected professions in the country, and that is phenomenal. And that's just a showing of my references there. And so, you know, I'm very glad that I decided that I would actually, I'm glad that I decided to go with Florence Nightingale because of the fact that I now know so much more. Thank you for listening.